And the question I often get in conferences like this and our World Congress, 90% of our revenues, at least, here I think it's 98, 97%, are coming from print. 2%, 3%, in most Western markets, 10% are coming from digital. How is it, though, that when we go to industry conferences, the talk is reverse? Okay? And I think the short answer is that we have a wide capacity. We've got a broad history of knowing what we can do in print. We have no history of digital. So it's a huge learning curve. Our focus in the next year, strategically, if we're looking at one big thing, it's going to be the practicalities of the transition and the transformation from news on paper to multimedia. We're really good as an industry at identifying what multimedia looks like, the products that we produce, etc. We're terrible as an industry, worldwide, at the transition and how do you organize yourself to actually deliver that. When we just printed newspapers and we did nothing else, no websites, no mobile, no nothing, our audience was general. It was mass market. Our content was either quality or it was popular, but it goes into a general content stream. And our platform was print. It's a pretty simple proposition. What makes this complicated, I think, to the people in this room is when you expand your platforms, okay? Platforms have different values, attract different audiences, okay? And what we're finding as we go digital is that content itself has different values other than simply narratives, which is what we're used to, narrative journalism. I believe, in fact, as you look across a broad stage, that our products and our audiences have come slightly out of alignment. And that's a problem if we're trying to deliver 100% relevance to consumers. And so the question I'm hearing, especially in Europe, especially in North America, not in South Asia, but still I think you'd be interested in hearing this, is do we allocate resources strategically based on where we are as a company or where we will be, okay? And when I say where we will be, I don't mean in 40 years. Anyone think I'm advocating a planning process of 40 years? I didn't ever say that. But I think we're thinking more in 2 and 3 years. This is the Chief Marketing Officer of Singapore Press Holdings. I think he really sums it up best. The conundrum. He says if we move online and new media too aggressively, we risk cannibalizing our newspapers too early and too needlessly. But if we drag our feet about it, then the new entities will not amount to much. And in the online and mobile world, the winner usually takes all. That, to me, is a middle ground. That tells me a company hasn't really decided which way to go, and I think that represents the majority of our members. That's okay. But what I present to you, though, is a company, Edda Media in Norway, most of you haven't heard of them, that made a choice in the last year, and this is really interesting. They basically said, we're in that 90-10 conundrum as well. But we are so confident that there is going to be a sudden shift in revenue to digital that we are going to make a leadership decision. And they wanted their employees and their executives to focus 50% of their time on print, 50% on digital. They went to their editorial department, asked for their resignations. They went to their advertising departments, asked for their resignations. They all could reapply for their jobs, but they were going to become multimedia jobs, multimedia reporters, multimedia editors, multimedia sellers of advertising solutions. Copy editors were mostly eliminated, etc. What has Edda Media seen as a result of this? They have seen a dramatic doubling and tripling of their digital advertising revenues. They have not seen a huge decrease or much change, I should say, in their print. The lesson here is not that this is about to happen in India. This is not about to happen in South Asia. But it could happen in 10 years, okay? Where you have a leadership moment and you say you're going to do this. I have picked up on, in Australia and New Zealand especially, publishers seem to be seeing evidence that as people engage with their apps, whether it's on the smartphone or the iPad, that they're actually discontinuing interaction with their web browser and their news website in the web browser. So some are seeing the interaction of these apps as the slow death of the mobile web. Let's see. More likely what we're seeing is just people experimenting, screwing up, learning, and moving on. And I think that's going to be the pattern in the next year. There are some superstars. I really would encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to check out the New Zealand Herald. I just think that they've done the perfect job of balancing a new way of looking at information while not freaking us all out, while also selling advertising solutions that nobody else seems to have gotten on.